Hello, today we're going to talk about polyamory, or ethical non-monogamy. This is another label, concept, philosophy that I identify with. I'm polyamorous. I have more than one loving, committed relationship with people. And I have partners who have partners. I'm going to try to stay away from a lot of the jargon within the community. This isn't a polyamory 101 video. If you'd like that, go ahead and let me know, and I will put something together. Today is kind of about what I feel about polyamory, what I know about polyamory, and kind of a little bit about maybe my history within being polyamory. I've always been an inquisitive person, even since I was very young. We'll get more into that in another video. But to suffice it to say, the idea of the conventional monogamous one-man, one-woman relationship was a little weird and always has been, kind of still is. I think my earliest, question, my wrestling with the concept was this idea of what love was. And some people say there's a difference between platonic love and romantic love. But to me, love isn't really bifurcated in such a way, the best I can understand it. And now I'm not really going to try to argue that point, but what I'm going to argue is the ability to love people and how you love people. Because I saw that, you loved your grandparents, your parents, your siblings, your aunts and your uncles, you loved your friends, and they loved you back. Now that's a lot of love. And I was also being told that there was a special type of love that you would share with only one person. You would get into these relationships looking for love, and people would fall in and out of love. They would be together for years, maybe months, maybe days, maybe decades. And they would all be seeking this perfect love, this thing that was undescribable, that only poets and artists can think about. It made me wonder, if you were in love with somebody, right? And you loved them and then they passed away. Your relationship ended of no fault to anybody except for maybe somebody killed that person. But the love ended. The relationship ended. You still love them. But now you're lonely. You find somebody. Can you ever truly love them? Is it a different type of love? These are hard questions. And I was thinking about them at 8, 10 years old. I thought about a lot of things I probably shouldn't be thinking as an 8 or a 10-year-old. But this concept of love, could you really truly love somebody again? And I think you can. And if you could truly love somebody else after something like that, no fault. No, there's no if, and, or buts. Nobody in society, hopefully, will judge you on you finding love again. You now love two people. And then it gets into this idea of religiosity or spirituality, and that's definitely part of that next video. But if you went to heaven and you saw both these people in the afterlife, then what do you do? Kind of boned, aren't you? But then I thought about it, and I did some digging and some looking into history, and monogamy wasn't always the only option. Marriage wasn't the only option. The way we connected romantically, sexually, all of these connections were not always the option, and that's okay too. Things change, ideas change, all sorts of things change. Then there's this whole concept of loving yourself. If you're supposed to be a whole person before you're with somebody else, if you're supposed to care for yourself, love yourself, wouldn't most people's relationships, a healthy relationship, be biogamous, or would it be like triogamous because they love you, they love themselves, and you love yourself? Or would that be, yeah, that's triogamous. That would be you're loving one, two. There's there's three things getting love: the love of the relationship, the love of the self, the love of the other, or the other loving themselves. Let's not focus on that. But if that's the case, you know what? I, I don't understand it. It's like I don't understand how you can feel that way. That I'm only ever gonna love one person and maybe love myself in this special way. And yeah, I think that if you can't love yourself that way, then how are you gonna love somebody else that way? You should know how that feels. You should care about yourself. And I don't know, a lot of people, myself included, struggle with accepting ourselves. And you know what? That there's that aha moment right now, right here. Maybe that's part of the problem. That we're taught so much that we should give love to this one other person, that we should form one entity effectively, that we don't think about loving ourselves. So maybe there's another many reasons to think about what, what relationships mean to you in that sense. You don't have to be polyamorous or non-monogamous or whatever, or monogamous. Don't worry so much about the labels. Worry about more what matters to you in your heart. Because that's what I did. I was like, this stuff doesn't make sense. Why are there the arbitrary rules? Why is it this way? And I didn't find a good reason. I didn't, amongst other things that were happening to me, ideologically speaking or philosophically speaking, things lined up a lot better if I didn't just take arbitrary ideas and ran with them just because they were the idea. It would take some time. I wouldn't, like, as I entered my first romantic relationship, I was really doing much more soul searching about what that meant for me. I didn't really approach that first relationship like, oh, I have to be polyamory. I have to. I don't even know if I knew that word at the time. I just felt like I should see what this feels like and go with it. But by the second relationship, in the middle of that second relationship, I'm like, no, this is how I feel. Because I still cared about that first person, even though that relationship was over. And I cared about the second person. As I explained to one of my partners in the past, it's like going into a room. And there are little spotlights on the ceiling or lights on the floor. And they illuminate a spot, a cylinder. Or maybe it's like maybe it's like a candle in a room, a sigil, a shrine. And each shrine is for every person in your life. Those flames, that light is fed by your connection with that other person and them back to you. And so the one flame isn't necessarily outshined by that other light, because you should also be taking care of your own light. But back a little bit about the history again. And so when I was talking about that with that second person and kind of trying to figure out what things meant to me and what was important to them, our relationship ended before we could ever really do anything. In my third relationship, I talked to the person. I was up front with them at first. Like, I don't know. These are weird. As our relationship started to develop, I was like, I don't want to wait to have these conversations until, like, oh, it's 5 years later and I feel this way. But we didn't really act upon it until about a year into our relationship. And we started dating somebody together. Um, and we've had ups and downs since then, but I've stayed with that third partner since then. Uh, they're a close confidant, a close friend, and no matter what happens, they'll be an important person to me. All of the people that I've connected with in such a loving manner will always be an important part of me and who I am. And I will never stop caring for them, no matter what has happened, because we shared something. We shared a special connection. And to me, that's really what polyamory is not limiting yourself to societal expectations just because that's what you were told to do. Now, I also think it's important to try to care for yourself. I think it's important to communicate. Uh, and I think it's important to not just do whatever you want without talking to somebody or talking to yourself. That's the other thing that's important about polyamory is communication. You don't have to have the most perfect skills. You don't have to be the bravest. You just have to be honest with yourself and with the people that you're involved with. And that's what's really important, is being honest. And to me, maybe that's the most important thing about polyamory, is it's about honesty. It forces you to be honest. Because you could still cheat in a polyamorous relationship, because it's not about being with other people and having permission to be with other people. It's freedom at the cost of being honest. But I think it's all about honesty. Honesty with the people you care about, honesty with yourself. Now, I must mention that that honesty is an interesting trick when it comes to polyamory, because a lot of people are in the quote-unquote closet. People don't, their families might not know about it. Their work might not know about it, because people have lost their jobs, their families, because they don't agree with that lifestyle. I've known a handful of people, even in a liberally area like mine. I've known people who they had to make a choice. And I want to live in a world where that's not the case. And it sucks that people go through that kind of stuff. Another aspect of polyamory that I feel like made sense with me is the fact that I'm bisexual. Being bisexual, like, maybe helped me question that whole romantic dynamics of the monogamous lifestyle. Is, what do you do then? Well, if you can feel the attraction towards more than just, one sex or gender or whatever that you want to use, then what do? You kind of, like, I don't know, brought it more into question. To me, all the little aspects, they're all connected, like, and not connected in the ways you might think, like, oh, bisexuality, polyamory, those are both having to do with sex and romance and love and attraction and connection. However, I think it's more than that. I think it's more than that. I don't know if I would be polyamorous if I wasn't bisexual. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe my inquisitive nature, which is the episode in another 3 days, allowed me to be comfortable with being bisexual and made me question the normality of monogamy. Fascinating idea. But with being honest, it has allowed me to be more free. I have to put in more work. Polyamory isn't about orgies. It isn't about sex all the time. It's about honesty. There are simple things, like maybe you have a partner who's not very physically affectionate or emotionally affectionate, and you're a person who needs both. Maybe they need a partner that is also not trying to seek one of those things from them, and they just want one aspect. And should your relationship not work out because they feel like on Mondays and Tuesdays they just don't want to be bothered by an emotional connection on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they don't mind it so bad, and on a Saturday, they would love to have some. And that to me is polyamory is about exploring. And I would suggest that whether you want to be polyamory, monogamous, non-monogamous, swingers, whatever matters to you, think about what you have in your life, what you want in your life, and don't let concepts, just because you were told about them being the right thing, to stand in the way of what's right for your heart, what's right for your mind. Take care of yourself. Try to take care of other people when you can. That's love. Love is about caring, even when it's not easy. Love is smiles on somebody's face. We shouldn't limit ourselves to just one set of smiles, one hand to hold, one person to embrace, one person to open up ourselves to. Until next time.